There are strange things out there that seem to have no explanation. Sometimes they are conjured up by the darkest corners of our subconscious, but on occasion they dwell beyond the confines of our imagination. They may come from another realm, or out of the sky, or from beyond the grave. Once they set foot into our world, the line between dreams and reality becomes unclear. It's our job to investigate these reports and compile the Virginia Paranormal Case Files.
It started growing up at my stepfather's house. I used to hear things all the time, see things, hear people talking. It was like loud enough that you could hear someone speaking, but not loud enough so you could understand what they were saying. Then I grew up a little bit. I decided that I was going to move out of my house, and I was very young, very inexperienced, and I decided that it would be a wonderful time to go ahead and play with the Ouija board. And I actually got very heavily involved with that for maybe 5 months, playing it just about every day. And from there, stuff started happening at that home that I was living in. And then when I moved on, it's kind of followed me everywhere. It's been progressively getting worse. It started to get, I guess you would say, angry. The first time I actually started living my adult life, and it was after I had my first child, and it would act out in different ways. One time it tried to, I had a dog at the time, and she was trying to get into her crate, and when she did, the crate actually lifted up and tried to slam on her. Scratches, I've had scratches before. I've actually taken a picture where it looks like my arm, it looks like somebody has grabbed it pretty hard. I've seen a face in windows. I have seen a man stand in my bedroom doorway. It got pretty severe where I used to live before here, which was in Withville, and it got to the point where I couldn't sleep without lights being turned on because I was scared to death of being in the dark. Then when I moved here, the activity has gotten pretty bad. As far as it wanting to act out in different ways, it's starting to act out in front of guests, in front of me and my husband. We can just be sitting watching TV. One night we had our dish strainer actually picked up and slammed down on the sink. Then it was the dish detergent. Our bedroom door has opened several times during the night. Just, you can actually hear the doorknob. It sounds like somebody's trying to get a hold of it, but their hand keeps slipping off. And then it'll open up. I've had instances where my middle child will get up in the middle of the night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and she'll just come and stand right here and just stare at that wall. She won't say anything. She won't try to get anybody up. She'll just stare at it for about 5 minutes, and then she'll just go back to sleep. My son, my youngest son, Dawson, he will be sitting in the bed a lot of the times and playing, and he'll stare at that door like somebody is right there. He'll try to talk to him, babble to it. Sometimes he'll look at it and start crying. So I've just had a lot of experiences, a lot of bad ones here recently that I think it's crossing some boundaries as far as with the kids. So I think it's time for it to move on.
Anything when you leave the house, or does it primarily seem confined to the house?
No, it follows me when I leave the house. I was told by one lady that it had followed me to her place of work. I actually went to buy sage to try to help things because that's the only thing that I knew to do. And when I did, I don't know if y'all believe in people having gifts or not, but She said that she does have gifts, and while she was trying to speak to me and try to talk me through, well, this is what you need to do and all this, it felt like I know how you can feel somebody standing right behind you. They don't say anything, but you can just feel them. So while she was talking to me, I felt that, and she told me that it was going to be pretty angry that I was seeking help and that it had followed me into her shop. And I said, well, yeah, because it's right here. So yeah, it follows me everywhere. I can't go anywhere without it. I can't do anything without it. I don't know if it's actually fully attached or if it's just trying really hard.
Yeah. The most of the activity seems to happen in this area, though. This area of the house.
The best action y'all are probably going to get is right through here, in between the washer and the dryer, where that bathroom doorway is.
Yeah.
A lot of the times when I walk down through this hallway, it feels like to me, it just feels like a man, a very angry man, just standing there like how men get when they get all puffed up and stuff, trying to look mean. And it's like he just stands right there. And in the bathroom, a lot of the times you'll get knocking on the doorknob will move.
Yeah.
You can hear a man regularly talking through here in this bedroom. So This is where it's the hotbed, I guess is what you would call it.
Obstacles back here. Walking on their big people.
That's good of that. No, were we supposed to go in there? No, they didn't mention anything about those, right? I don't
No,
think
we
so.
could still sweep in there though,
Yeah, that's
because she did mention the laundry room being an active place.
What am I doing outside? What am I doing with this? Checking to see if you have carbon monoxide. My readings here?
No, just right over there where the power box is at.
Oh. Okay. So the only place in the house that really feels strange is the bathroom and what I believe is the middle child's room, right here. And they kind of have an adjoining wall. When I walked in to the bedroom immediately, I didn't feel anything, but only when I walked toward the back of the bedroom did I start feeling something. But the bathroom is a little different. It does feel strange in the bathroom. But it doesn't necessarily feel strange to me in the master bedroom, where she said a lot of the activity occurs as well. So just kind of that sort of instantly dizzy feeling, kind of heart thumping a little bit faster and heaviness in the chest that I'm feeling. So
I mean, really, the only spike was that like power box or fuse box over there. I mean, all throughout the rest of the house, it's been normal levels. I don't even think really above 1 or 2. I mean, it's been hovering like 0.7, 0.5. You can see right there. But really, the only spike was the power box, which you're gonna expect. But yeah, I mean, it seems to have normal levels.
One good thing we learned from sweeping for the carbon monoxide, and Linda didn't get any spikes on that, is that we can rule that out. A lot of times, we want to eliminate, I should say, any rational explanations that may be there. Sometimes carbon monoxide poisoning has caused people to see things and hear things that weren't there. We know there's none of that going on. At least there's no carbon monoxide detectable at this point, according to the first alert meter. This hallway has been one of the hot spots that she mentioned, where the washer and dryer are, the 3 knocks in the bathroom. And interesting to note, of course, the power box right there at the beginning of the hallway, I should say. A significant spike that David got on the tri-field meter. Could this power box the EMF levels that this is giving off feed something that is manifesting right here in this area?
That's actually, yeah, that's a good
Perhaps it's
idea. Yeah,
possible.
that's a good thought, because it's such close proximity. I mean, it's only a couple feet, you know? I didn't think about
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're going to break out the REM pod, see if we can get anything to interact with that, and then go into a spirit box session. All right, we'll start by saying our names. I'm Jeff.
I'm Linda.
I'm David.
And we don't mean to impose by any means. We're here to try to find out if there's somebody that has a message. The woman who lives here, she's heard a man talking and some knocks on the wall and some sounds that she doesn't really know where they're coming from. Now, if there is somebody here that has a message, somebody besides the three of us, we'd like to hear from you right now. We have a couple of devices here on the bed, and this first one with the red light on it, if you come near that device, all it's going to do is light up with multicolored lights and come on with a tone that lets us know you're here. That's one method you can use to communicate. We also have another device right here that has some numbers on it, and perhaps if you come near that, the numbers could change, and we'd like to see if that works. To let us know that you're here, could you please come near one of these devices for us?
See if I can do it. How long have you been here for?
Why do you stay around Tori? Do you like Tori? If you like Tori, why don't you go near that red light?
Yeah, none of these things will hurt you. They'll just let us know we're communicating with something.
I'd like to point out that the air conditioner here is running. Now, this should not interfere with any EVP session. We will have this constant noise in the background, but if a voice comes in clear enough and loud enough, we'll definitely be able to tell the difference between somebody talking and this consistent sound. Why do we not turn the air conditioner off? And I'm going to tell you, because when she experiences the activity, the air conditioner is running. So we want to keep the air conditioner running. If this is a device that perhaps feeds the spirits, gives them energy because it does put off quite an EMF field, we want to give them that means. If it is perhaps through this ambient sound that this voice can carry, a lot of people believe, one of the theories is that these spirits, when they talk, they need some kind of a mobile, I should say, for their voice. So it can be carried on ambient sound, sometimes the static of a radio playing the white noise, and sometimes even when we're talking, like we're talking right now, we may very well pick up a voice on the recorder, because it's almost like they use the vibrations that we're putting off to talk through. We don't know, but like I said, we want to recreate this scene, so we're keeping that going for the course of this investigation. If you're willing to talk to us, please come near this REM pod. It is not going to hurt you. In fact, I can even demonstrate by putting my hand up to it. This is all it does. Would you try to set that off for us?
So I asked if you like Tori. Let's say if you don't like Tori, could you please light that up? Go near the red light. So we've come to try a different location. If it's easier for you to try to communicate with us here, could you try to come near the red light? Okay. Are you in the bathroom because of the energy in here?
Yeah.
If you are, can you light up that green light, just like you did? Are you here because of the energy? Are you a male? If you're male or a boy, can you light that up for us?
I'll close this door here.
Are you attached to Tori because of the Ouija board that she used to play with? If you are, can you light that up for us? Go near the red light if the answer is yes. We simply want to find out where you came from and why you're here.
Now, did she hear knocking? From
Yeah.
This?
From this bathroom,
From
yeah.
this?
She'll be laying in bed, or laying in the bathroom, and she'll hear knocking against this back wall sometimes. Or she'll hear knocking on the door over here.
I'm going to test something. What we're going to do is take the REM pod back into the bedroom. Because what happened when we came into the bathroom here, we set the REM pod down. A few moments later, in response to a question, it turned to green, like something interacted with it. Well, I brought the thermometer in here, which also measures humidity. And we've noticed when there's about a 10% change in humidity, the REM pod seems to go off. Now, I closed the door. Before I closed the door, there was no more than a 5% rise in the humidity between here and the other bedroom that we were in. I'm not 100% sure that a 5% change in humidity is going to trigger this to go off. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry this back into the bedroom where we know it's 5% less humidity, set it on the bed, and see if it goes off like it did when we brought it into here. That way we can rule out that being humidity. So follow me, and let's take this in there. And of course it's going off now because I'm touching it. Okay, so approximately the same amount of time that we let it sit in the bathroom. Let's see if anything happens.
I'm tagging some voices in the living room.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So, what happened in the bathroom was not in response to a change in humidity. Something set this off.
When we were in the bathroom and I had asked something along the lines of, is it easier for you to communicate with us in here? I believe that's when the REM pod had gone off. And we've realized that, sometimes these things will go off and then not go off again. And that's exactly what happened in the bathroom. It just failed to communicate. And so we don't know at this point whether to consider it just sort of a fluke or whether to think that it was something that wanted to just test it and see what happened and see if it could set it off and then really didn't want to communicate. There's still a lot of questions about that. But we're going to see if we can try maybe a spirit box session and see if it'll communicate that way.
Okay, so we have the spirit box going. It's run through a splitter, and one side of that is going to the speaker so we can record it, and the other is going to Linda's noise canceling headphones. Therefore, she's not biased by our questions at all. If there's anybody here with us, could you please try to talk to us through this device? Tell us your name.
Could you tell us how old you are? Okay, that did sound like a older, like a, you know, kind of like a male voice.
It did.
But, you know, she did also say that a male voice, but I mean, I don't think I could have interpreted that, you know.
That was, yeah, that definitely was a
I don't
male
think I
voice.
could have interpreted that as a female voice.
No.
That female had a very deep voice.
That was a burly woman if that was a female.
Exactly, that's like a
Yeah.
lumberjack of a woman right there, yeah.
Why are you here in this house?
How long have you been with or following her?
So we brought Tori in here because whatever this is, it seems like it's attached to her and not necessarily to the land or to the house like a lot of spirits. So we brought her in here hoping that maybe she could generate some sort of response or help us to generate a response through the spirit box. So we're going to keep her in here while we turn the spirit box back on and see what we can get.
All right. So, Tori, just feel free to ask any questions that you may be curious to know the answer to, and see if anything interacts with you.
Okay. Is there a reason why you're attached to me or follow me? Is there any way you can let me know that you're here?
Is that a ladybug?
Yep. Any significance to ladybugs?
Not really. It's very odd for one to be in here though. I've never had one in here. Ever. Anything you want to say?
Now's your chance to talk to us and let us know why you're here. If you were here before this family moved in, can you tell us? We didn't get a whole lot of responses at first glance in the bedroom. So what we're going to do is we're going to come into the bathroom, and we brought
Tori and Linda, they're going to stand in the bathroom. Linda's going to run the spirit box. David and I were going to stand out here in the hallway as to not overwhelm anything. And perhaps, being that this was the place we did get the hit with the REM pod, and it is a place that a lot of the activity happens, let's see if there's any responses that come through the spirit box in the bathroom.
If anybody is here, can they explain to me who was it that knocked on the walls and the door? Is that you that does the knocking?
Why do you knock on the walls in here? Is there some kind of a message that you're trying to get across? If you can use that device to communicate, we can maybe get some answers through that. Let's start off by just asking, if you were here when this family moved in, can you light that device up for us again, please? Make it turn green.
When that thing started lighting up, had she been asking the questions right before that?
Yeah,
It's gonna only respond to her.
I believe so. I think it was that. Was it after you asked the question, or was it after I asked about the knocking?
It was right after you asked if it was trying to send a message, and that's when it.
Yeah.
So, are you trying to send a message to me? Did you follow me here when I moved in? I think it's being pretty stubborn tonight.
During the spirit box session in the bathroom, it didn't seem like a whole lot was coming through the spirit box, but the REM pod was activated on, I believe, 3 occasions. I have to review the video, but I believe it was about 3 times. But what's interesting is that was it. We couldn't get it, whatever was there, to establish lines of communication where it was regularly answering our questions through this REM pod. And we have to beg the question, why? If it was a spirit that was communicating with us, why did it only go off a couple of times? Why didn't it keep communicating with us? But then again, on the other hand, I have to say, we don't know what kind of energy it takes any spirit that may be there to manipulate this device. Perhaps it was only able to muster up enough energy to activate this REM pod 2 or 3 times. We don't know. But I don't believe the responses that we got through the REM pod were enough for us to draw any conclusions. Now, a lot of times when we get cases like this, where it seems like something is perhaps attached to the client. This entity is leaving the house with the client. Things are happening in other places that she goes to. It's not confined just to the house. It seems in a lot of these cases when we come into the situation, whatever's there doesn't really want to communicate with us much. We don't get a whole lot of evidence. And this could be for numerous reasons. It could be that whatever's there just doesn't want us to know that it's there. It could be that whatever's here isn't really willing to communicate with us. It kind of shies away because we're new faces, we're new people, and whatever's here may not be entirely sure of our intentions, or on the other hand, it may be completely sure of our intentions. It may know exactly what we're going to do, and for that reason may not want to communicate with us. We don't know.
I mean, we didn't appear to get that much activity back here because the REM pod didn't even go off back here, right? It only went off in the bathroom, correct?
Right, I believe so.
Yeah, I don't think it went off here. I think it went off the 2 times in there. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's kind of like indication that there may possibly be something, but that we just, you just can't draw any definitive conclusion from just that. It's kind of like ambiguous, And like you said, we don't know how. There's no like scale to assess how much energy is required for like those entities to be able to communicate with us, because it could be like a totally different scale, something minuscule like moving a curtain or a blind that we think takes no energy. To them it might take a lot of energy because it's just different. It could be on a different scale, so it's all hypothetical. But yeah, I definitely agree with your point on that.
What we're going to do is bring the husband in here. Evidently, right from the start, when they first started dating, this thing kind of showed itself to the husband and tried, what we think is tried to scare him. So we're going to bring him in here and see if maybe his presence aggravates this thing enough to make it want to speak to us. Like you.
No, it hates me.
Yeah, we're not getting a whole lot of response here, so we're thinking maybe just bringing you in here. Alright, so what do you think now? Do you not like him? If you don't like him, light that up.
What is your deal against me? I bet you can't make that thing go off. All you gotta do is touch it. Are you the one that hurt her? Man, her here in the bedroom? If so, make that light go off.
It's risen 2 degrees in here since he came in.
Yeah, this thing's smart when it gets
Yeah,
your attention on it. It
kind of shuts
hides and
down.
waits. All you gotta do is speak in that box or make that light go off. Are you scared of it? Definitely absolute age thing isn't messing with it.
Probably just feels threatened by him.
Are you threatened by me?
Welcome to the evidence room, where we review any possible evidence that we may have got over the course of the investigation, and also do somewhat of a debrief. Now, when reviewing the audio clips and the video clips from this investigation, we really didn't pick up anything of note.
No.
There were some interesting moments during the investigation when the REM pod went off.
Yes.
And of course, we've learned that changes in humidity can activate this REM pod. Usually a 10% change in humidity is from what we've noticed. So when we took it from the bedroom into the bathroom, started asking some questions, it did go off, seemingly in response to a question. Took it back into the bedroom just to see if the change in humidity was what was activating it. And it wasn't. There were a couple times when that REM pod went off in response to questions.
Right.
And it's interesting, you wonder why, if you establish a line of communication with this entity that may be there, and it determines, hey, I'm going to use this device to communicate with these people, why does it stop? Why doesn't it answer all of our questions?
Right.
Do you have any theories on that?
I always kind of theorize that perhaps it has to do with the energy that the spirit has. Maybe it's just takes a lot of energy for this thing to manipulate a device like that. And after a while, it sort of runs out of the energy. It gets tired.
That's a good theory. And that's kind of what I was thinking along the lines of, that perhaps when it steps through the veil, if you will, it can only interact with us for moments at a time, just enough to reach the device, and then it has to go back, recharge. We don't know. We really don't. But another, of course, interesting theory that I've kind of come up with is, we don't know when we're talking to whatever spirit may be there, if they can hear us. This device is there, and they may be able to interact with that device, but on their plane of existence, what if they can't really hear our questions? What if just as their voice is not getting through to us, our voice is not getting through to them? But they're still coming forward and interacting with the devices, but they don't know that they're answering any questions through it. They're just seeing that, oh, this can light up, and I can let them know that I'm here. But I'm not able to do anything more than that.
Yeah, and it's purely coincidence that they happen to be making it light up right after we've asked a question. So, you know, that makes sense.
Absolutely. Now, there were some points where the spirit box, where voices came through. And of course, one thing you have to consider is this is an AM/FM radio. Voices do come through. What do you look for when you're looking for something that's paranormal on the spirit box?
Well, for one thing, we look for a response that directly answers the question that we've asked. And even when it does directly answer the question that we've asked, a lot of times if it's something that you would commonly hear spoken on a radio, then we'll still sort of dismiss it. Sometimes it sounds like the radio frequencies don't come through very clear. They're very quick, very choppy. There's been other times when we've actually heard what sounded like whole sentences that were spoken almost across a couple of radio stations. And that's the sort of thing that we do like to look for. We like to hear a full sentence being spoken because we know that's not something that's really possible to be spoken in one voice across multiple radio stations.
For all these words to just fall together and make a complete sentence, that would be quite a coincidence. Absolutely. And in analyzing the audio from this investigation, where it did seem that there was a possible response, it was either just radio chatter, and sometimes it's very difficult to make out the response. Not that it is a response, but that it's a voice coming through on the radio, and there's so much static in there with the voice, or just part of a word or part of a voice, that it's clearly not a response to our question. Or if it is, the spirit didn't have enough energy to put that whole response out there.
Right. And another thing that's a little bit difficult is that sometimes it sounds like we hear maybe the first 2 or 3 words of a sentence, and you can't get the full sentence. You can't get the full message that's being put across there. So you just kind of have to throw it out, because if you're only hearing the first few words, and that's actually what I heard in this instance. It sounded like the beginning of a sentence, but it wasn't carried through.
So it could have been radio chatter.
Right.
Could
or it
have
could have been
a
another
response.
language.
Right.
For that matter. And that's another thing we deal with, is going into cities and doing spirit box sessions where there's other languages on other radio stations. You know, even the audio pareidolia comes into play there, because you can hear a very fast spoken language, another language, And sometimes it can sound like a response still.
Right. Which
In
is why we
English.
use those headphones, of course, to eliminate that factor of the question being heard.
Right.
One important question I asked the client was, does whatever's here only happen in the house? Does the activity only occur in the house?
Right.
Or does it seem to follow you? Does it occur in your car or at other locations that you go to?
Yes.
And she said it occurs wherever she is.
Yeah.
Now, that would lead us to believe in asking that question that this is something that is attached to her.
Right.
Now, some of the things in the house, the male's voice, the knocking, some of that stuff could very well be a spirit in the house, within the house, that just wasn't willing to communicate with us. But being that activity does occur wherever she is,
Yeah.
it seems that something follows her.
Right.
When something follows you, could it be a human spirit? We believe in the possibility that a human
absolutely.
spirit can take interest in somebody. You can remind them of somebody that they loved, that they knew in life, and they could follow you around because
Right.
they took interest in you. But another possibility is that something that's following her or that's following any person is not good.
Right.
I believe she mentioned using an Ouija board in the past.
Yes, way back in the past, I think, like a lot of us have when you're a kid.
Right.
You get those ones. I think it was Hasbro or Parker Brothers that put it out, and you mess around with it at sleepovers with your friends, and you never know when something could come through there. And that's one thing we always tell people is never mess with a Ouija board, because there's just too many questions and
Right.
too many reports that we get from people who have activity, bad activity, after messing with an Ouija board.
Yes.
So this is one of those instances where it could have come from that, or it could have come from something else in her life as well.
That's true. That's true. And going off on that side note, the Ouija board, I've done a little bit of reading on it. Of course, it was meant to be kind of a parlor trick where the subconscious would move the planchette and such. But one interesting thing to consider is that if there is some sort of a dark entity that wants to get into your life, it may not be the board itself that brings it into your life, but it sees you, if it's around you and sees you using this board,
Right.
looking for questions from the other side, or for answers from the other side.
Yeah.
It could use that opportunity to come into your life and
into
mess
your
with
life.
you,
That's
even if
exactly
the board
right.
itself doesn't open up a portal per se.
Yeah.
But we left her with some good information, what we would do in this
Right.
case, and that would be the packet that you left her with.
Right, the deliverance information that we have sent out to quite a few people since the last time we mentioned it. And yeah, we left her with that because she said she was a Christian and that she was looking for some sort of a spiritual cleansing of sorts to try to get rid of this thing. And we found that that is one of the most, successful ways, I guess, of getting rid of it.
Absolutely. So that's the first step, is that personal cleansing. And then we stay in touch, find out if there's any activity.
Yeah.
And if we need to go back,
Right.
we do.
We do.
But until next time, I want to thank you all for joining us. I'm Jeff.
I'm Linda.
And remember, there's much more to see in the dark.